Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B is for Build. In today's episode, we are focusing on the roll cage, the internal roll cage. Now this is a race car, it's meant to be raced, and to do that you have to have a very specifically built roll cage. So we drew up a design, we got that approved by the race organizers, so we're ready to rip. We know how to do this, but this is our first time building a full race spec, race approved 12-point roll cage, and we're gonna do it inside this Lamborghini right now. Stay tuned. Before I get down to work, I want to take a second out to thank our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Keeps. Bing. 2 out of 3 men will experience some sort of male pattern baldness before they are 35, and Keeps can help you keep your hair. That's why they call it Keeps. And the best way to prevent hair loss is to do something about it while you still have hair left. So you want to take action before it's all gone. And you do not have to go broke to avoid going bald. Keeps offers the generic versions of the only 2 FDA approved hair loss treatment drugs out there, so they're going to help you keep that price low. And Keeps has revolutionized the way that men get treated for hair loss. They've made it simple and easy. They deliver your medication directly to you every 3 months when you need it, so you can say goodbye to the lines at the pharmacy and no more of those awkward doctor visits. Just gets delivered straight to you, super easy. And like I mentioned before, prevention is key, and Keeps treatments can take up to 4 to 6 months or more before you start seeing results, so it's important to act fast. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss right now, go to keeps.com/BisForBuild or click the link in the very top of the description and you're gonna get 50% off of your first order. That's keeps.com/BisForBuild. Huge thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this episode. Now let's get down to work. All right guys, we have the steel tubing for our roll cage. We got a bunch of different lengths. This is all the correct spec tubing that you gotta make a roll cage out of that's like up to safety. What the hell is this called?
DOM.
It's just DOM tubing. I thought it was more special than that. But anyways, so we've been paying very, very close attention to the rule book for the Mint 400. That is the race that we are preparing this vehicle for, making sure that it meets up to all the specifications. And shout out to the team over there. We actually created a graphical design and sent it to them and said, hey, if we build this, are we good? And we got the green light. So now we're ready to start building. The first piece that we're gonna start building is called the rear main hoop. It's a 1-piece bar that comes up, across, and back down, and that sits behind the driver. So we need to figure out where our driver's position is going to be. So these are the seats that we're going to be running. They are Sparco something or others. Very, very expensive. We did steal them from the Burnt-A-Con a long time ago, and well, here they go, into the next Lamborghini. So we're going to go ahead and mock up this seat in there, figure out where the driving position is going to be, and that'll help us figure out where we're going to be able to place our rear main hoop. I was able to jump in there and we got some markings and some measurements down. It's going to be a really, really tight fit, but that's the same in the Burnt-A-Con as well. It's just when working with Huracans, the cabin's already very tight, and then adding in roll cages and stuff, it gets even tighter, but we will get it done. We found a way to make it all work. We also marked out while I was in there our shifter location. The guys over at Numeric, this super sexy unit is actually a manual shifter. It's really, really crazy. Very, very cool. Anyways, we need to sit this on our spot right there, and then we can do our measurements for them to make our cables. But really, really cool company. They make shifters for a lot of different types of cars. I'll put a link to their website in the description. You guys should go check them out. And we'll do a full how-to install on this once we got all the parts together. So next step is building the pads for our rear main hoop. We have to have a 6-inch steel pad that goes into here, and then another bolt plate that goes in the bottom. And then we're gonna be going up, and then a bend, and then a flat, and then a bend, and back down all the way over there. We've got our first bend. Shout out to Rogue Fabrication with the Rogue Fab bender. This thing is awesome. I'll put a link in the description to their company. So we got our first bend done here. Oscar's got all the lines marked out, and he's just going to continue to follow the math and wizardry. He just knows how to use this thing. He's got it dialed in, so I don't dare risk it. Also, you know, I just want to blame you when it goes wrong. Yeah. I was over here playing with cardboard, doing arts and crafts, and this is our first foot pad. So this gets each one of these pieces is about to get cut out of 3/16 steel, and we'll weld them all together, and that's what the bottom of our cage will connect into. So we're going to go ahead and take these all out, and Kyle's going to plasma cut them out. Well, first try, First scrap part. Oscar did some of his math wrong, accounting for the die and the spacing in the die, and leaving some some extra room over here, and he accidentally put some extra room right here. But we've learned from the mistake.
Yep.
No big deal. We'll try and find a place for this rail somewhere else in the build. Like, that's not too steep of a bend. Might work for the A-pillar.
Yep.
Yeah, for the A-pillar drop down. So we'll try and salvage this later, but for now, grab another 12-footer. Fingers crossed. How many 12-footers do we get? 4?
2.
2?
2. We got one more try.
We gotta hope our halo bars only takes 10 feet.
It will, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Oscar got our rear main hoop bent. It looks really, really good. The second try is a charm. So it's got a 1-inch gap on each side, which is about what we want. Now, you're gonna notice that there's more height. This is gonna be hard to explain. There's more height here than there. So as you go to slide this thing up, by the time you can actually set the rail in there, imagine you get into that channel. Once it goes down, now your rail isn't nice and snug up towards the roof. So we got a little trick that we've learned from some roll cage builders, which is you start poking holes in your car. So some people remove the roof on a vehicle and put the roof back on afterwards. We're gonna kind of do the opposite and remove a little bit of flooring before we actually put it back and then reinforce it a ton. So this is just a really thin sheet of aluminum. So we're gonna cut a circle out of this. What that's going to allow us to do is stick the whole cage in here, and then it can go all the way down to the ground. Then we can get it in place, mark it, cut it, and we'll be able to put it in there and keep it tight. But also it's going to let us do our welds on our halo bar, which we'll show you next, which is the one that goes around the roof, because that has to be welded 360 degrees, and you can't really get in there when this piece is snug up against the roof. So we cut the floors out, and then we put them back, and then we reinforce them and make them even stronger. Alright, so we came in here and we drilled some holes in the bottom of the flooring right there, and we were able to stick the legs of the rear main hoop through there and get the main hoop in, and you can see that we have a nice snug matching up with the roof. Don't worry about this thing. This is our fuel cell, which we got to figure out space for. That's a huge problem. We'll worry about that later. Next up, we're going to work on the halo bar. That is the bar that comes like kind of by your head and wraps around, goes up towards the windshield, and then comes back down. It kind of connects all the way around the roof. We've got a halo bar. So you can see the bar comes out from the top of the rear main hoop, comes this way, back around, and right into here. Now we do have some concerns about this. This is about, well, it's closer to a 1-finger gap than a 2-finger gap between the railing here and the cage. The rules state that our helmet has to be 3 inches away from this cage at our normal driving position. So once again, we got to mock up the seat, figure out if it's going to be a problem and we need to make any changes to this. If we have to, we can put another bend probably right here, but the least bends, the stronger it'll be. So we're gonna try and test it out with the seat back in here, racing position. I'll go grab a helmet even, and we'll see where we land. All right, well, I don't know how much you guys could tell from that clip, but the helmet, the distance off of this rail actually wasn't really a problem. I had 3.5 inches at my natural driving position. That was all good. The problem is that my helmet was pretty much right up against the roof. So to get more height, you tend to lean your seat back a little bit more and a little bit more. And these are fixed seats, so they can't really lean back too much. So I don't think that we're going to be able to run these seats, which is kind of a bummer. But we also want to keep working on this halo bar. So what we did was we looked at some pictures from the Lamborghini Super Trofeo roll cages. I'll show you this one right here, and I'm going to kind of outline the bar that we want to kind of try and build, and that's how we want to be. And Oscar and I both agree that if we get real tricky and real precise with this bar, we can still salvage this bar, but we're going to be adding more bends and adding more angles to it to get it to hug to the car a little bit better. And that's what we really want to do. And then we're going to cross brace the roof. Once we mix that with a better seat or a different seat where I can get a little bit lower in the vehicle, we'll have that roof protection, a little bit more support, so we're not caving in the roof and hurting my head, and I think it'll just be a lot safer. So that is the idea that we're going to work for. First we got to nail the halo bar, and then everything else should kind of fall into place. We got really close to being able to reuse this bar that was originally the halo bar, but it, due to a slight movement that was made in the rear main hoop, we made a measurement that was off, and then we cut the thing too short. So we're taking what we learned from this, and we're gonna make it even better. So second one's gonna be much better. We're gonna cut a new one of these. While that's going on, Kyle has just started on our dash bar. So we're gonna have a bar that goes across here that's gonna be steel. So the Lamborghini dashboard structure is out. We're modifying a few things so we can bolt into it with steel now rather than aluminum. It'll be a little bit stronger. So yep, we're gonna do some angle iron that comes in, bolts into those brackets, bar that goes straight across the center. Alright guys, last night we nailed the halo bar. So it's got bends that go up to help it meet up with the roof, which has the arch, and then it has bends to keep it tighter on that line. And that's gonna help a lot. So it's just lightly tack welded in here. Next thing we're going after is a few different things at once. A-pillar bars coming down here. Crossbars that go across the roof. So the roof has quite a bubble to it, and if we land upside down, we want the cage to start protecting us right away, not once we get flat with the halo bar. So we're copying what Lamborghini did on their Super Trofeo, and they have a crossbar that goes across the roof, and I think that's going to help make it a lot safer. So we're going to work on those, the A-pillar bars, and then Kyle's going to start working on removing the windshield. Now for the Mint, we cannot run a windshield. For other things screwing around, we may want to build our own windshield out of plexi, which, as you can see by looking at the shape of this, it's not going to be that challenging. But first we got to go ahead and cut this out because it's going to help us get our A-pillar bars in here. Slight interruption real quick, guys. I got some news I want to tell you. You guys know we're building this Huracan to race in the Mint 400. That is the main race that we're actually building this car, basically purposely built for. And there's some news around that. Because of COVID, normally the Mint was on March 3rd. We need to have this vehicle done, race ready to pass all the spec, and get out to Vegas by March 3rd, which is like from today, about 40 days, basically. So that was going to be a really tough time frame. because of COVID and regulations going on in Nevada, they are not allowing special events and things like that. So the Mint has pushed their date. They pushed it all the way actually to December, which is pretty interesting. So it's going to be in December of 2021. It's cool though, because they'll be able to be fans and we'll be able to have, you know, big crowds and groups and everything like that. So that's all really cool. So it means that we have as long as we need to finish this build, and we'll do the rest of our builds for the year. We have other races that we plan on attending, like the Hoopty Cross that's hosted by the guys from Gambler. We're gonna try and hit that in February. It's out in the snow. It'll be a really cool thing. But anyways, I wanted to let you know that there is basically no deadline anymore for this vehicle. We weren't gonna half-ass anything. We weren't gonna shortcut anything in the first place. We had our backup vehicle being the Z4, but luckily we won't have to do that now. So this thing will probably debut more likely, you know, at different local races, and then it'll go to SEMA, and then right after SEMA, we'll be off racing in the desert of Vegas. We'll probably stay in Vegas between November and December, and then we'll go race it. So anyways, sorry for the interruption. That's a little bit of new news. It doesn't really change much for what we're doing. We're still gonna just keep working hard and get through this. We may interrupt it a little bit more with some boat content. Texas Speed has told us that our engines are basically being wrapped up right now. So we may be doing a little bit of LS swap and boat stuff in between working on this. But yeah, that's just want to let you guys know the Mint has been delayed. No issues. So we'll see you guys there in December. All right, back to it. All right, guys, the windshield is gone. Looking good. So this is how we have to drive in all of our off-road events. No windshield coming through here. So our dash is gonna start, well, just wait, you guys will see tomorrow what we're gonna do with this and how it's all gonna tie into everything else. So moving into the inside, Oscar just wrapped up our roof protection. So you can see it kind of V's out of the center of the rear main hoop and goes into the corners of the halo. And that is gonna be really good. See those nice little bends right in the middle there? They go snug right up against the roof, gives our head plenty of room, but also is gonna really help that roof from caving in at all, which is perfect. So we were gonna move on to the A pillar bar and the B pillar bar that comes down here, but to do that we need to know where our dash bar is going to go. And you might notice that our dashboard is no more. The whole dash structure, we've taken that out and done a little bit of engineering and figured some stuff out, and now we're ready to install our dash bar. So the dash bar is going to bolt in right here to the stock Lamborghini spot and goes across. We're just going to build that with a single piece of tube and 2 pieces of angle iron. So we'll get that constructed and bolted in, and then we're going to run our B pillar bar that's going to run right down here so it connects up with that. Lots of good progress. So we got our B pillar bars. That's one Oscar's holding there, and this one holds itself right here. They connect up with this bracket, and then they're going to be gusseted to our dash bar. So that's the B pillar braces. And then coming over here, Oscar got all these notched out, and these are our A pillar braces. So they kind of come in like that. Loud noises. That fell. They come in like that up there, follow the A pillar down, and then mounted right here above what was the OEM shock tower. This is where the shock actually used to bolt into. So those 4 things are done. Plates have been cut out, so you have to have base plates that have enough room for 4 3/8" bolts to go through, and then there has to be a plate that comes up from the base. So we have plates cut out that Kyle did for here and for down there on both sides, down here on the little footpad. Cameras don't like me right now. Right there, that's where it's gonna go. So what we gotta do next is we're gonna go ahead and clean up those plates, kind of get them in place and get everything all tacked up, and we can show you guys what it's gonna look like. We got the B pillar and the A-pillar bars tack welded in there, and now they land on their little, what we normally call foot pads, sandwich plates. So right underneath the vehicle in the same spot will be another plate that goes up, and then they are nut and bolted together to really squish down on the frame there. The frame is aluminum, and by the rules we are also not allowed to weld into the frame, but you can't weld steel to aluminum, so that's not really a problem. So B-pillar bars are there. Walking over to the A-pillar bars, they go to a pad right here, same deal. Plate goes up from underneath, plate goes there, and they connect up like that. So let me walk you straight on, and you can see, looks really, really cool. So this is coming together. Next thing we got to do is check out seating position. We're going to grab a Kirky seat from inside, check out the seating position in here, and figure out where our door bars are going to go. The door bar connects from the base plate of the B-pillar bar right there up to around shoulder height right here. And we don't have to run a door bar because we actually have doors, but it's just going to be added safety and rigidity, so we're going to do it anyways. I think we're going to have to kick it out a bit. All right, we got our seating position figured out. We are gonna have to run a seat that is extremely low mounted, probably just bolted straight to the floorboards, and center located towards the center. This is gonna be and it's gotta have a good lean to it. So it's gonna be a very, very tough seating position to be able to, the rules are our helmet has to be 3 inches away from any of these bars. So we've done our best, but man, that's gonna be tough. So we're gonna have to get very creative with the seating, which means that we're not gonna have the comfort of other off-road racers. They have suspended seats or better seats. We're probably gonna have to run something with not the most padding in it. But we're young and our backs can take it. I've talked with guys that do these races a lot, and they say basically you might do the race once without a suspension seat, and then after that, it's all gonna change. So we'll just do our best. Anyways, onto the door bar. So it's gonna start right here. It's gonna have a slight bend as it comes up on its way over to about shoulder position over here. And it's gonna slightly bend out and then just run straight back into this bar right here. So we gotta make 2 equal bends, throw them in there, cope them up, shouldn't be too hard. First door bar is in, so like I said earlier, it's just like a long straight, and then it bends down and goes into there, meets up on that plate, and gets welded in both those spots. Looks great. The door shuts, has about a couple inches of clearance before it hits the door. That's going to be perfect for what we need to do. So Oscar's going to work on doing that second side, and I'm going to work on our rear down bar. So we need to have a bar that goes from the rear main hoop, this, and it needs to go down. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna intersect with our chassis right here, and we're gonna go through this piece of the rear firewall right here. So we're gonna punch a hole in here, and we're gonna build a tube that goes from here straight down and meets up with here, and we'll have a plate, and we'll eventually just box that whole thing in. So I gotta get this stud off of here, this stuff out of the way, and then go ahead and run a tube straight through. Success! We got lucky with these downshot bars that they were able to land within that triangle of non-braced material. So there's like basically a carbon fiber, like it's not a bar, but it's a brace that goes through right there and down below. And we got it right through that triangle. It's probably because the Super Trofeos, I assume, actually throw their bar through there as well. So yeah, we got the down bars in. Door bars are completed now, so we showed you this one earlier, and then Oscar got the other one in there. So this is the base of our cage. We have that going down there, and then that meets up there and goes down there. And we have a few more bars to keep going. We're probably gonna do an X across here once we get our fuel cell situation figured out, and then we have a seatbelt bar that's gonna go through here. And then the really cool thing that we can do is we can actually interconnect, this has always been the plan, is all this suspension stuff once it's finalized and bolted in here and all welded in and like in its rightful spot, we can come out through here and connect up here, which is really, really cool. And in the front, we're going to, I really wanted to build this bar now, but we can't because this stuff is kind of fluctuating. But once we get all this stuff figured out, we're gonna build a dash bar that's gonna go across there, and then it's all gonna be able to tie into this A-pillar bar right here. So the front suspension will connect with the inner cage, which will connect with the rear cage, and then we will have some underbars as well that run under the frame rail, chassis rail, frame rail, and they'll act as kind of rock sliders as well as stiffeners. So when the suspension is really compressing and there's a lot of stress on it, it'll go all the way from that suspension unit and support the chassis all the way up as it continues out to here. And we can run from there down to there as well. So this is the beginning of our kind of exo internal cage, and this is our internal cage. Now the next thing that we're going to do, that you'll notice this is only just tacked in here, and we don't have any gussets. We need to, what we're going to do is I'm going to take a quick film of this with my cell phone. We're going to send that off to the race director of the Mint 400 and make sure that everything is good with the roll cage and the way that we've designed it, and everything will pass certification, and make sure that they're happy with it before we fully weld it in. That way we don't find any mistakes like when we're trying to get on the starting line. So that's all good. So a lot of people nowadays are building cages by 3D scanning the interior of the vehicle, and then they're just kind of printing the tubes, they're laser cutting all the tubes out and stuff like that. This is kind of the more DIY way of going about it these days, but shout out to Rogue Fab. We're using their Versa Notcher and their bender. You'll find it, the link is in the description. If you guys want to pick this up, it's basically all you need to build a roll cage like what we just did, and a welder. Gonna need a welder and a lot of cutoff wheels. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace!